What's up, people? It's your girl Adeola. I'm sure you know that a lot of Nigerians right now are outraged about reports that the Senate has voted to reduce the age at which a female can get married to 9, 10, 11-year-old. Now, two things to keep in mind. First of all, this is not new in Nigeria. Underage marriage has been going on forever in Nigeria, depending on whether you've been to some parts of the country, and I'm glad that it's finally becoming a national issue. Now, the second thing to keep in mind is what actually happened at the Senate last week. They were actually amending parts of the Constitution, Section 29 of the 1999 Constitution to be precise, which deals with the age at which Nigerians can renounce their citizenship if they decide that they no longer want to be called Nigerians. So the majority of the lawmakers voted and agreed that you have to be at least 18 before you can renounce your citizenship, since subsection 3 of this same Section 29 says that full age in Nigeria means the age of 18 and above. But and this is where the problem is. Subsection 4 says that any woman who is married shall be deemed to be of age. In other words, any woman, regardless of her age, will be considered an adult so long as she's married. Now, keep in mind that the Nigerian Constitution doesn't exactly state an age at which a woman can be legally married. The Constitution says you have to be 18 before you can be considered of age, which is what many people interpret as the age to get married. So, some of the lawmakers were suggesting that we need to do away with that part that says any woman who is married shall be deemed of full age. You know, they were talking about that. Am I making sense so far? I mean, if you're confused, go back to the beginning. So, after these people voted for 18 as the age at which you can renounce your citizenship, one senator, Senator Yerima, got up against Senate rules and procedures to oppose the age limit for renouncing citizenship.
And the committee proposed a removal of Part B of the clause, which states that any woman that is married shall be deemed to be of full age. But a lawmaker opposed this.
By Islamic law, any woman that is married, she's of age. So if you now say she's not of age, then it means that you are going against Islamic law.
So he proposed that they should vote again, and in the second vote, forced by Senator Yerima, several senators who had voted yes to set the age limit to 18, they all changed their minds and said, no, we can't set it at 18. If we do that, we'll go against Islam. And what many of them did not know is that they just voted in favor of keeping the subsection 4 that says a woman is of age so long as she's married. But is she of age? Of course, people started protesting, and that was when one senator from Ondo was crying that, oh, he didn't realize what he voted for. He claims it's an error. I'm like, you're a senator. How can you vote on something that you don't understand? When the issue of marriage came up in the amendment, isn't that when they should set an age of consent? I mean, if the Constitution says that you have to be 18 to vote and that you have to be 18 to be of age, I think it makes sense, you know, to just set the age of consent to 18 as well. Instead, one senator used that as an opportunity to get votes to keep the part of the Constitution that says that once a girl is married, she's of age. But before I go on, allow me to tell you a little bit about that senator, Senator Yerima. He was a two-term governor of Zamfara State. He was the one who introduced Sharia law to Zamfara, and during his tenure, he amputated the right hand of Buba Jangebe, a man who was accused of stealing a goat. Later, the former chairman of EFCC, Nuhu Ribadu, in 2006, accused Yerima of directly stealing from his state's treasury. But Yerima was never tried, even though he didn't sue Ribadu for false accusation, which means he didn't deny it, yet he was never tried by the EFCC. Rather, Mr. Yerima was made a senator after his second tenure as a governor. Now, in 2010, Mr. Yerima was 49, and that was when he decided to marry his youngest wife, a 13-year-old girl from Egypt, for which he paid $100,000 as dowry. He once said to media people that he was about to marry off one of his daughters that was attending Ahmadu Bello University, ABU. So his daughters are educated at least to university level. So that's a little bit about Senator Yerima. Now, as a woman, I have a huge problem with a bunch of men sitting down under air conditioner somewhere, deciding when a girl can get married. Why don't they allow us to hear from these young girls that were married off at the age of 10, 11, 12? Take these girls to the Senate floor, let them testify and let the whole world hear how wonderful it has been to start nursing a baby by the age of 13 and be confined to taking care of the house. I mean, let them tell us how wonderful it is to marry someone that is old enough to be their father and in some cases their grandfather. Let them tell us if they are enjoying, the thing when they do it. Yes, I don't even want to think about it. Oh my god. And I would love to hear from some of these girls who never got to finish school if that was their dream. Do they have a say in their homes? When the husband is like 20, 30 years older than the wife, does he seek the views of this young wife when making decisions that will affect her and her children? There should be some kind of feedback from these girls. But is it possible that we have made them voiceless? And doesn't it look like some people are fighting to keep it that way, to keep them voiceless? Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong in getting married early if there's true love, but there's a difference between getting married early and getting married as a child. Anyone below 18 is still considered a child, even by the constitution. So if the girl is not old enough to have a say in who she wants to spend the rest of her life with, then she's not old enough to get married. Period. One of these girls could become a great scientist if given the right education. A wonderful TV presenter, a successful businesswoman can be among these girls if only they are given the chance. But you would never know, because by 14, they are already full housewives. I'm not saying that you have to be educated to be successful in life. I'm just saying that you should have the right to choose to be educated. I think I should read this statement to you, written by a Muslim woman from Kano, which is in the northern part of Nigeria. She's a lawyer and an advocate for women. I'm talking about Miriam Ways. Now, she said that when these girls are forced to marry so early, it's a deprivation of formal and non-formal education, which translates into restrictions on mobility, domestic burdens. They have to learn how to nurse a baby, how to bathe a baby by the age of 13. Just imagine, they have to learn how to cook, how to clean and keep the house by the age of 13, as well as the loss of adolescent years. I mean, they don't even get to know what it's like to be a teenager. Now, Mr. Yerima argues that child marriage is a solution to abortion and prostitution. You see how smart this one is? It is very, very smart. So are you telling me that in parts of Nigeria where they practice child marriage, there is no prostitution and abortion? So this man also said that child marriage will solve half of our problems in Nigeria. Yeah, I'm sure that he's talking about, problems like embezzlement, bad leadership, which is why he had to go to Egypt to marry a 13-year-old girl. In case you don't know, that is his own way of solving Nigeria's problems. Now, what upset me the most is when he said that he could give out his own daughters in marriage at the age of 6. I have so many things I would love to say to him on that note, but you guys know that I don't disrespect elders, yes, and I'm very gentle. Instead, I will read to you what somebody else wrote. Comedian Benga Adeola says that I would have called Mr. Yerima a sorry excuse of a human being and the waste of his father's sperm, but I will not. Mr. Benga, you just did. May the fleas of 1,000 Egyptian camels infest his pubic area and armpit. Benga, I'm warning you. No be me talk more. It's very clear that in Nigeria, you cannot be a senator before you are 18. But a senator can screw you up before you turn 18. So my people, make sure you fill this petition that lawmakers should revisit that part of the constitution and set a consent age to 18. It's been circulating everywhere. I'm sure that you've seen it. But if you are yet to sign it, please take a minute and sign this petition so that we can save the future of our young girls. Guess what? I'm just keeping it real. So while some men are lobbying for child marriage in Nigeria, I like to give a shout out to Guinea-Bissau for outlawing domestic abuse last week. I'm talking about outlawing domestic abuse against women, children, and men. You know that some women they beat up their husband. Yes, and this move is being celebrated by women and child rights groups internationally. This includes physical abuse, sexual abuse, even child marriage. Yes, by Nigerian people, child marriage is being outlawed in Guinea-Bissau, as well as female genital mutilation, among other things. According to the National Committee for the Abandonment of Harmful Practices in Guinea-Bissau, an estimated 60% of females are physically or sexually abused, and women are significantly discriminated against. For example, at some workplaces in Guinea-Bissau, women do not receive equal pay as their male counterpart. I'm like, what? And in the academic sector, educational opportunities are limited for women. And guess what? About 30 women die every year from domestic violence, many of them young mothers. Although their constitution has banned domestic abuse since 2009, the police had little power to act because a lot of the victims were not coming up to speak out. But this new law now makes the act a public crime, meaning that other members of the community can come forward on behalf of these women, these children, or these men that have been abused. So if a man beats his wife, they can say, Oga Olopa, last night I had my neighbor, she was crying, and I know she doesn't cry like that. I know that woman, she can talk a lot, but when she cries, something must have happened. I think her husband is, you get what I'm saying? You need to take a look into that case. So these neighbors can do that. Also, if someone decides to marry off a young girl, it doesn't matter if it's a politician or a nobody. Anyone in that community can go around to the police and say, hey, policeman, do you see what is going on? Somebody is about to screw the life of one young girl in our community. Now, the penalty for those who break this new law ranges from 2 to 12 years in prison. I mean, isn't that wonderful? My only concern with this new law is that I hope there is some kind of structure put in place to help these women in a situation where the man is the sole provider and he's arrested for abusing her. If they take him to prison, who then takes care of her? My point is, it's not enough to just arrest the offenders. I think in all African countries, we need to have a structure in place to empower women in order for them to take care of themselves as well, which brings me to the importance of allowing young girls and encouraging them to be educated and get good skills so that they won't have to depend solely on the man to provide for them. There's nothing wrong in the husband and wife working together, both of them making money. There's nothing wrong in that. But at least now they've outlawed domestic violence, and I think that is something we can all learn from Guinea. Just keeping it real. So while people are praising Guinea-Bissau for standing up against domestic violence, the world is urging the government of South Africa to ban a cultural practice that is endangering the lives of several young men. Some people in South Africa run what they call initiation schools that young men have to go through before they can be considered real men in their communities. Now, this practice is common among the Xhosa, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, and the Ndebele tribes of South Africa. Basically, they take these young men to the hills or mountains for about 3 weeks to a month. Many of them are like 15, 16, 17, all eager to become men. But in the process of the initiation, they have to be circumcised. And on top of being circumcised, these guys are put through a series of survival tests, which sometimes include exposure to the cold winter weather of South Africa while they are wearing skimpy clothes. If they make it through this initiation, they will be considered real men. It's a rite of passage into adulthood. But the problem is, circumcision can be very deadly if it's not done well, and many of these initiation schools are not observing the necessary safety procedures. So this year alone, guess what? About 80 young guys have died from injuries due to circumcision. Many of them just bled to death. Last month, about 300 of them were admitted into hospitals. 10 of them lost their manhood. What is the importance of trying to attain manhood when you could end up losing your manhood? Can you imagine how depressing it would be for these young guys to know that they can never do it? But you know, their case is even better than those who died in the process of this initiation. Do you know that about 30 young boys died last month because of this initiation ritual? My people, culture is a good thing. I am very proud of my culture. But when culture becomes dangerous and deadly, I mean, at what point do we stop? The Eastern Cape Department of Health said that about 20,000 young guys participate each season in this initiation. And guess what? More than 250 of them have died in the past 5 years. So far, the government of South Africa has refused to ban this practice. They say that it will be a constitutional violation against cultural practices. And I'm thinking, which is more important? Is it culture or the lives of your young men? And for parents, why would you let your son go out to participate in this initiation when you know that he may not come back? But what do I know? I'm just keeping it real. So 2 weeks ago, I talked a little bit about some changes that we should expect regarding how people will get their green cards in America if the immigration bill should pass. Today, I want to tell you 3 ways in this Senate bill in which undocumented people can get their papers. If you came here legally and you're out of status, then you're referred to as undocumented as well. Maybe you came on a visiting visa and you overstayed, or you came as a student and after your studies, you did not go back even though your student visa and your I-20 have expired. You're also referred to as undocumented. The only thing is you must have been undocumented as of December 31st of 2012. These are the 3 ways that you can get your papers if this bill should pass. 2 of them will get you your green card immediately, but the 3rd one you would have to wait for 10 years before you can get your green card. I'm talking about the Dream Act, the agriculture visa, as well as the 3rd one for which you would have to wait for 10 years. That is the Registered Provisional Immigration Status, RPI. Now the first one, the Dream Act, only applies to you if you came to America before you turned 16 and you attended high school here in America, or you joined the US military. If you know someone who came to America before they turned 16 and they still don't have their work papers, please inform them. The second way that undocumented immigrants can get their green cards under this Senate immigration bill is through what they call RPI. And this is the option for all undocumented people, all, either you are 16 or 46, so long as they've been undocumented as of December 31st of last year. The only thing to keep in mind is that for this RPI, you will have to pay $1,000 application fee and you would have to wait for 10 years to get your green card. Yeah, but the good thing is while you're waiting for your green card under this RPI, you'll be given work authorization. And not just that, you can travel outside the country as you want. Of course, they would be doing all kinds of background checks on you, so be sure to pay your taxes and stay away from crimes, but you're free to travel. So some of you that have not been home for donkey years, you know, your father passed away, you couldn't go home, your brother got married, you were not there, you feel stuck in this America. My people, this is one way that you can get your papers, okay? It doesn't matter if the person is presently facing deportation. That deportation case will be dropped so long as they apply for the RPI. Now, the 3rd way that an undocumented person can get their green card if this bill should pass is what they call agriculture visa. And let me tell you, this is one of those opportunities that Africans are not taking advantage of at all in this country. And that is because, you know, when we come to America, we all want to be nursing assistants, security guards, hair braiders. We want to work in African restaurants and African grocery stores. But do you know that you can get your green card quickly if you're doing agriculture jobs? Yes, so for example, a lot of people go upstate New York to work as apple pickers. They pick apples in the fall. Let me tell you, a lot of Jamaicans are doing the apple picking thing. My brother, this is not a degrading job. You know that Jamaicans are smart. Yes, the only thing is that they need to show the proof that they've been picking apples for the past 2 years. As long as you can show that and other requirements, they'll give you your green card. A lot of Latinos in Florida are planting oranges, strawberries, tomatoes. I mean, there are pictures are everywhere, you know, and guess what? Because they are doing agriculture jobs, they qualify for green card. And once you have your green card, you don't have to continue doing agriculture jobs. So the question now is, if you are undocumented and you've not been picking apples, yet you want to take advantage of this agriculture visa, do you now have to start picking apples for the next 2 years? Well, guess what? I don't know. I honestly don't know. And that is why you have to find out by yourself. That bill is more than 800 pages, so I can only tell you so much. Visit this site. Ask them questions that pertains to your particular situation. Just send me a tweet about whatever you found out or send me an email. All I know is that if you move to Alaska and you start fishing today, that is considered agriculture job. You can go to the Midwest and start milking cows. I mean, if that's what you need to do to get your papers, why not? That is also considered an agriculture job. But again, you need to call your Congress member that represents your state. You can find him or her through this website. Just go there. We need to look into this agriculture visa thing because hair braiding is great, but it's not giving us green cards. You get what I'm saying? So why can't we venture into agriculture, which will give us green card? And lastly, don't forget that the green card is our best bet. So please sign that petition advocating for the continuation of the green card lottery. Guess what? I'm just keeping it real. Before I leave today, I like to remember a Zimbabwean legendary musician, Chiwuneso Marari, who died of lung infection last Wednesday at the age of 37. She was an accomplished songwriter and singer. She blended modern instruments with a traditional mbira, at times composing songs in English. And in 1999, she was nominated for the Best Female Vocals of Africa under the Kora Awards. Unfortunately, I do not have time for emails today, but I promise you that next week, by God's grace, I will be able to read emails. Alright, y'all, it's been real, and I'm keeping it real right up in here. Until next week, I'm gonna see y'all later. Peace out.